About 9 years ago, Leaping Fun was fascinated by some pictures of Liannan. He visited the place with friends. What began as a sightseeing trip has developed into a lasting relationship.
我哋想去參觀，除咗睇下個山景之外咧，睇到一間學校，就有一個好突然嘅感覺咧，就係話有一啲歌聲傳嚟咧，就好動聽嘅。我哋就俾呢一種咁嘅聲音吸引住，就去睇下。咁我哋發現咧係一間爛嘅學校，好黑暗嘅地方，地都係爛㗎。咁但係咧啲小朋友咧個個都好精神奕奕，咁喺度唱佢嘅書。咁啊當時感覺到就係話呢笪地方係需要幫助或者協助到擺脱佢哋落校嘅面目。有咗教育，識咗個字，佢先可以謀一啲生活。再擴大啲咁講，先至係一個促進一個國家國力嘅一個基礎嚟。
可能呢個咩呢？我覺得五劍山。
As early as 4 years ago, Lee and a group of dedicated Hong Kong people began raising funds to help children on the mainland to learn to read. Using their own vacation time, they started educational aid schemes in the poor regions of China. A social worker, Lee finished his schooling only with educational aid. Today, he hopes to do his part for his country and people.
嗰陣時，我哋啲物質條件又唔係咁好。即係讀書嘅機會唔係個個一定有，同埋咧好多都係啲喺大陸遷移落嚟嘅人，所以咧無論喺你嘅生活啊，你所接觸裏邊咧，都時都提起一啲國族嘅問題啊、國家嘅觀念啊呢啲咁嘅嘢，尤其是我哋細佬哥個年代咧，都係殖民主義色彩幾濃厚嘅一個社會，咁變咗越係殖民主義濃厚嘅社會裏邊咧。就越係令人哋諗起佢國家先係佢嘅歸屬。
即係廣東省嘅北部嘅，係粵北嗰邊嘅，咁就。
Also a social worker, Wang Qingyi was born in China. She came to Hong Kong for her education, while her cousins on the mainland were less fortunate. For this reason, she feels she needs to help her own people.
我嗰時感覺真係咁多，我好好彩，我可以留喺香港，可以有機會接受教育，而佢哋留喺國內咧就冇咗呢樣嘢啦。而呢樣嘢對佢哋係一個即係好重要嘅損失咯。
Interior decorator Lam Wai-fong used to be a social worker too. She believes that education is the key to social development.
睇翻反觀90年代嘅今日，咁點解我哋會對一啲政治啊或者政府一啲嘅設施啊點樣，我哋有咁大反應咧？咁我諗好大嘅。嘅其中嘅原因咧，就因為我哋喺認知方面，或者我哋喺我哋知識水平方面係高咗好多咯。
Guangdong is known to be the richest province in China. Few would expect to see such poverty in its Liannanyao Autonomous County. The soil here is 50% limestone. It can only be used to grow cheap and hardy crops like peanuts, sweet potatoes and corn. Rice carries a higher value, but there's only one crop a year. The per capita income of half the people in Liannang County comes to less than 300 yuan. That is about $55 US. Tang has 9 children. He's got to feed a total of 13 people on an annual income of 900 yuan. Tang is utterly broke and owns virtually nothing apart from the clothes he wears. Come winter or summer, they are his only clothes, and he can't even afford to buy needle and thread to patch them up. When they run out of rice, they go on a diet of porridge and wild vegetables. It gets even worse when there's a drought. Tang reckons that this year they lack 3 months' food supply, and he has no idea whether or not he can borrow any money.
唔知整顧行啦，顧一行啦。個換咗以為啦，嘅無人咯，嗱無人都。 但咁努啊，黏让那温咯，即係嗱，都啲個人都嘛，個人啲嘅啊，嗱嘅嘛，都做辦咯又，黏又是講黏，咪咁嘅啊温又是講之外是講到温，但到之外是講到嘛，只個温古鬼咧，俾你故意當嘅嘛，咁樣介紹佢嘛，鬼話當咧，你都個人冇面啲人哋面咯，都冇啲個度就應咯，講應咯。
Life is hard for them. They toil from 4 in the morning to 8 or 9 in the evening. Yet they still can't make enough to feed themselves, not to mention repaying their debts. Tang knows full well that his family are victims of illiteracy.
我說咧，國家冇咁大行啊，過一行咧病咪又，危險啲工俾你咪又，唔係做人做咪又，冇文化咧，幫啲都嗌你何咪，嗌你幾咪，應該危險啲工咧，即俾你先啲事，先行得到。 那舒服我的红咯。
你好啊，
哎，
吃饭啦？
吃饭喽。
哦，出什么菜啊？吃什么菜啊？这个吃的。
是。
即係個感覺就係嗰種好戚戚然咁咯，即係中國其實好多人好苦咯，你未去到你咪唔知咯，但啲人又係繼續要生活咯。
一年到晚都係攬住一張冇咩乾淨嘅被。 嗰間屋又好似鑊爐底一樣冇抹過，咁啊一支喐竹竿就差唔多等於一個衣櫃。
我估其實交通同資訊係一個對於佢哋嚟講係一個即係最即係令到佢哋嗰個經濟發展係差嘅一個原因啦。咁另外一個就係個人嘅素質，佢哋根本冇呢個知識或者冇呢個資源去改善到自己生活。 咁所以變咗佢哋亦都另外一樣嘢就係話對於土地嗰個嘅懷戀，即係懷念嚇對個土地嗰個嘅即係一種苦戀。咁所以就算一個咁生活環境咁差嘅地方，佢哋仍然即係依依不捨。咁但係另外一方面，佢哋都冇呢個咁嘅即係生活嘅技巧去改善自己嗰個嘅生活嚇。咁所以即係話呢個係一個循環，一個惡性循環，就即係越窮就繼續越窮，冇就繼續冇。
哪一个来吃？哎，我讲多牛，我也去，可以吃一个，可以吃一个，吃一个。
Most elderly Yao people in Liaoning County are illiterate. As for those between the ages of 8 and 40, over 30% cannot read. 10% of the school-aged children receive no schooling. Another 20 to 30% don't attend school regularly. In this respect is the West area in Guangdong province. Pan San Mei started in primary 1 when she was 8. In 6 years, she's only made it to primary 3. The reason is that her mother suffers from hepatitis, and San Mei has had to take care of the housework and skip classes. She even missed school for 1 whole year. This past year, her mother has required constant treatment. While her father has been busy trying to pay the medical bills, San Mei can no longer go to school. But she drops in at school every other day for a peep at what's being taught. San Mei has a brother who's completed primary school. Working in Guangzhou, he can't spare any money for his family. Once, he wrote San Mei a letter, but San Mei couldn't read all that was in it. San Mei not only wants to be able to read, but also become a teacher and teach her own people. She also wants to become a doctor and serve the community. It looks highly unlikely that her dreams will come true. The family can't even afford to repay the several thousand yuan they've borrowed to cover her mother's medical expenses. Their most valuable possessions are a few pigs and chickens, which must be fed first.
哎，妹妹。妹妹你好啊。你好。你妈妈去哪里啊？
你本來每幫下5年嚟醫啊？
去醫院。
去醫院啊！喺廣東省呢個省份裏邊咧，係冇辦法想像仲有啲咁嘅地方㗎。我哋成日都覺得中國裏邊咧，廣東省係最富庶，而廣東省仍然保留一啲咁部落式，甚至有人好似話齋喺49年以前係原始民族後期式嘅生活咧，係廣東省裏邊係好少見。咁所以咧，我哋覺得好驚奇。
Located in limestone country, the village of Nangang in Liannang County is even worse off. Villagers who have enrolled their children at school eventually find themselves unable to pay the fees and have to give up. More often than not, it's the teachers who visit the families to beg children to go to school. It's also part of the teacher's job to beg people to pay fees. Take Baijingdong Primary School, for example. When the term started, just over 10% of the students paid the fee of 31 yuan. As the end of the term approaches, 40% of them still haven't paid. The teachers have had no choice but to keep up their family visits.
我的感觉是他的家子十分的困难，但是我们学校来追这个费，学生的费呢，就感到心里也很疼的。不过呢，我们都很原谅他们，希望他的儿子呢，都多多的来，这样我们多多的跟他做思想工作了，以后再慢慢再交这个费了，没办法。
According to village elders, the ancestors of the Yao people in Liannang County came here from Hunan province as refugees over 1,000 years ago. Rejected by the Han Chinese, they retreated into the hills. The Yao people have always been poor, but few have thought about leaving the hills. The elderly say it's because they can't bear to leave home, while the younger generation are scared to move because they can't get farmland elsewhere. Life in the hills is harsh, and properly trained teachers don't want to be posted there. At present, 40% of the teachers in the Yao villages are replacements without adequate qualifications. They only receive 75 yuan a month, 2/3 of normal pay.
不管遇到什么困难，我都要认真学习。下面呢？
Tang Yixing'er is a replacement teacher. He's just as hard up as the villagers, but still he insists on paying for his students' fees. He thinks that illiteracy is the root of all problems.
打个比方说，在农业方面呢，他用的是打个农药，你都不会打，就是不知道怎么样去怎么样的后起来那个打，这样呢，就是有时候呢就把很多种农药都过来用了，也是把老鼠药都用到什么几个地方去，这个告诉很多那个危险呐。
Tang Sime only started teaching here last year. When she first saw the poverty in the village, she had to fight to make herself stay.
我是代课老师来的，一个月才75块钱。你如果这里没有自己的经验，到哪里去摘？所以呢，用自己的工资去买菜也没有那么多钱啊。我到这里的时候呢，住也睡不好，天天好像没有睡觉的很10米啊。 天天想想家啊，因为呢汉人啊，汉族的老师啊，他不愿到这里来了。这里啊，山高路陡，米又自己担上来，再又没有吃，买什么也没有，所以呢，我们自己是瑶族的，只能够呢教好自己是瑶族，到瑶族来教好自己的弟弟妹妹，所以自己自来了。 要足大一点力来把自己的弟弟妹妹教好，长到了长。
The government is eager to help the Yao people to learn new skills and has always encouraged them to learn Putonghua and the written word. But lack of money has proved to be a major obstacle. This year, the Liannang County government is setting aside 40% of its revenue for education. But this cannot even cover teachers' salaries, let alone equipment purchase.
就为了发我们的工资以后呢，就没有钱去购买那些教学的仪器了，还有教学的这个一些学生的玩具啊，还有书啊，都没办法了。另外一个呢，就这个书部分的问题，如果学生缴不上钱来呢，就买学生的课本买学生的练习本都没有钱。 如果学生上学来读书，没有这个课本，没有这个练习本，没有这个笔，就谈不上怎么学习。
The primary school in Baijingdong doesn't have enough books to go round, so the teacher has improvised by copying the lesson on the blackboard. Without pencil or paper, the students can only sit and listen. In music class, singing is the only activity, there being no instruments. 5 years ago, when Hong Kong Primary School was in danger of collapsing, the government put up 2/3 of the money needed to erect a new building. The remaining 1/3 was to have come from villages. But the village is simply too poor, and work on the half-completed school has had to be suspended. Parts of Nangang Primary School have also collapsed before, and the school now borrows space at the government office to service classrooms. It isn't much better here, though. Loose floorboards and cracks can be seen everywhere. To raise funds, Nangang Primary School has started planting peanuts, raising ducks and breeding fish. The work involves not only teachers, but also students. Through such efforts, the school makes an extra 100 to 200 yuan a year.
但是这么小的年纪要干辛苦的工作。
我们都是我们的号召是这样了有多大能力就要做多少要尽力而为我们经常是对学生来讲对学生宣传讲要尽自己能力去做，比如说自己能做的事自己做。那么一般这些垂这食指呢就。 不能够垂的，如果累了就可以休息一下， 休息一下再做。
In September 1989, Li Pingfeng, Wong Kin Yi and Lam Wai Fong initiated an educational aid scheme. The aid scheme paid fees for children. It also gave away free rice to reward those who attended regularly. Boys received 3 caddies of rice a month and girls 6 caddies each. The difference was aimed at undermining the Yao people's prejudice against girls. Each term, there were cash awards for academic achievement. In just over 2 years, the number of students has increased from 170 to 240, with 100% attendance. More significantly, during each of the last 2 years, 1 or 2 students succeeded in entering one of the county's major primary schools. The principal of Nangang Primary School says that the aid scheme from Hong Kong is working. But what the villagers find most moving is the spirit of the Hong Kong trio.
这个呢，就我也考察过，不是为了米，因为他们说哈，不是为了米，因为哈，他们讲呢，香港人和我们不是亲戚，也不是朋友，但他们对我们这样赞助啊，就说明了他们是对我们对我们一种关心关心。他们既然对我们这么好，那么我们应该拿出行动，报答他们对我们的这个希望。
一个个账榜是我们流动的家，方言最早的住屋。
Thanks to the aid scheme, Pan Samei's younger brother can go to primary 4. Every day after school, he teaches his sister the day's lesson to make up for what she's missed as a result of having to look after the family. Tang, the man with a family of 13, is able to send his 5th son to school. Like Sammy's brother, the child assumes the role of teacher after school to show his parents, brothers and sisters how to write. When his eldest brother goes to town on market days, he goes along to help, because his brother can't even read the numbers on a banknote.
Batong kam ale chunko ka onta venu chia pai lao ai kama suwa de yin ti ngen lao si ka bu la ngen onta venu phong fa la ngen man ho long venu phong fa lao ai ti wa
老师多都是那的来外头是更能方便。 为你个么书多的，来外头跟么的，大家都跟么方便大家，买西单用水路啊，为了的。
我那种了，你个文化的路还有你个，我只是啊，我那个那，你家呀买东当个把那件变吧，把这那大长我那，个把我这东西在打来把修啊，那讲风爱路啊，公巴写文化，来把这那文化在那。
我代表全校学生朗诵一首诗。你从哪里来？你来自遥远的香港，千里昭昭。你为了什么？为了，在这祖国960平方公里边远山区苦难儿童的站下而来。你们的一片心意，一片热情的爱，唤起了我们苦难儿童的童心。我们的爱和心意，我们已经领了许久，只能够我们暗下决心，把书读好。南港小學。
其實覺得自己責任好重，其實睇到即係呢啲都係我哋中國嘅即係小朋友。 我哋要令到佢哋去改變佢哋嘅命運，咁其實真係要做好多嘢咯嚇。咁亦都希望佢哋真係知道，其實我哋咁遠嚟咧，都係抱住呢個心，希望佢哋可以改善到佢哋嘅生活。
做得到，我哋踏上第一步嘅對象。 呢個第一步踏出咗之後，有第二步嘅話咧，呢個理想先係可以達到。咁呢個理想可能唔係一個人達到，可能第2個人行上第3步，第4個人行上第4步。我只不過行上第1步。